Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasati Gauravani Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much, Arjuna Prabhu. Thank you very much to our esteemed guests whose association is extremely valuable and so much appreciated. Thank you very much to all of you for coming, and thank you very much to Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy everything in our lives has become possible. My subject is the sacred order, books, 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 and more books. When I first joined Srila Prabhupada's movement, that was January the 7th, 1973, I actually moved into the temple. Before that, I had been involved a little bit in London. And in those days, there was not a lot of book distribution going on. There was quite a bit of Sankirtan going on, but it was very much in the form of Harinam Sankirtan, chanting in the streets, in the cities around the world. To a large extent, that was what Sankirtan meant. And of course, it is extremely valuable. It is very wonderful. But then, right around that time that I joined, or maybe perhaps during the course of the year that after I joined, like through 73 into 74, then a revolution took place in ISKCON, in Srila Prabhupada's movement. It began in America, but it quickly spread over to Europe, where we were, to England and all over Europe, and then gradually all over the world. That was a revolution in book distribution. Srila Prabhupada emphasized, he gave more and more emphasis to book distribution as a very important and even perhaps the most important form of Sankirtan. Sankirtan in the sense of giving the holy names, giving Krishna Katha, giving the transcendental sound vibration to the people in general. By whatever means. So book distribution, there was a revolution in book distribution at around that time, late 73, 74, 75, it was really overwhelming. So the effect of this was, well, there were a number of effects. One effect was that the devotees found that when we give people Krishna consciousness in the form of the books, it has a huge impact on the people. Tremendous impact on the people. Of course, Harinam Sankirtan, It also has very nice effect. But we saw that when book distribution was increasing and doubling and tripling, just increasing geometrically, we saw that the number of people who were taking to Krishna consciousness, getting involved in one way or another, and actually joining our temples, that the number just increased. Just as the book distribution increased, you could say, proportionately, then the number of people getting involved in the movement, it increased at the same rate, or something like that. In those days, of course, becoming a devotee to a very large extent meant moving into a temple. This was really how we saw things, and this was how we were trying to do things. This is what we were trying to achieve. Congregational development, we had not yet really tuned into that much at all, even practically, if at all. But we found, for example, that in London, in the middle of 73, we were given Bhaktivedanta Manor by George Harrison, which is a very big facility, certainly by our standards in those days. It was a very big facility and strategically located. So what we found was that Bhaktivedanta Manor started filling up. On the basis of the book distribution, well, we started a lunch program every day in our temple in the center of London, right in the heart of London. And we found every day we had some new person come, and if not actually join the temple, but literally every day, a new person would come as a guest, just to see what is Krishna consciousness like that. And then from those, many of them joined the temple, actually moved into the temple. If you're familiar with Bhaktivedanta Manor at all, then you would know that, say, compared to Radha Golokananda Temple in Phoenix, in terms of the floor space, the room, there, perhaps it is maybe, I don't know, 3 times the size or something like that. It's considerably bigger. But we found after about a year of very concentrated book distribution, thousands of books every single day, we found Bhaktivedanta Manor was filling up. And first of all, the Brahmachari and Brahmacharini rooms filled up until they were overflowing. Then the corridors in between the rooms filled up. Then the stairways filled up. And there were devotees sleeping on the landings. And I remember one classic situation. I was coming down early in the morning, and His Holiness Janananda Goswami, very wonderful preacher in Srila Prabhupada's movement, he happened to be sleeping on the landing. And I didn't notice it was dark. I stepped into his mouth. Oh dear, what an offense. But the fact was, the temple was filling up, and then the temple room filled up. I mean, every night it was full of devotees sleeping in the temple room. Then the room next to it, which is like a guest room, that filled up. Then the prasadam room next to it, and these are fairly substantial rooms. At night, it was full. And then there's a sort of a theatre room down the hallway that filled up. And we had, living in the temple, at the peak, it was something like at least 300 devotees. And they were all brahmacharis, brahmacharinis like that, and they were being engaged in further book distribution. So book distribution, it's a very, very powerful activity for spreading Krishna consciousness. On top of that, it is a very, very inspiring activity for the devotees who do it. I remember the first time I went on book distribution, actually distributing Back to Godhead magazines, Oxford Street, London, as a brand new devotee. Perhaps my head had been shaved the day before, something like that. The devotees did not waste their time in those days. There I was standing with a stack of Back to Godhead magazines on Oxford Street, busy city street, in big city London, and I was wondering, what do I do? How do I do this? Can I do this? What now? What next? And one very pleasant, elderly Hindu gentleman walked up to me and said, "Oh, Back to Godhead, may I buy one?" And I thought, well, okay. So I think that was my first Krishna conscious literature distributed. And gradually, I'm a fairly insular type of person. I'm not an extrovert. And initially it was not easy for me. But I found that as I made that effort to get into it, I found a lot of mercy came from Srila Prabhupada and a lot of inspiration. So this is a very important part of book distribution. Also, the sacred order of Srila Prabhupada, that if we do this, we, the distributors, we get great inspiration and a lot of mercy. And our lives in Krishna consciousness open up in so many ways. Initially I was doing maybe 10 Back to Godheads a day. Gradually it moved up. I moved into the sort of bigger league. I was doing 20 a day. Then we switched into books. Krishna books, Ishapadishad, these smaller and medium-sized books. And we were doing 40 a day, then 50, then 60. Then we reached 100. And we had a slogan in London, 100 a day keeps Maya away. And I would say it is true. It really is very true. If a devotee breaks through and really dives into the ocean of book distribution, it is very good for the common people, and in that way the development and increase of the Krishna consciousness movement, but it's very good for the devotee also. In fact, in one sense, the devotee is the main beneficiary, in one sense. So why is this happening? It is because Srila Prabhupada is very pleased. As we know, in fact, it was shown on the board earlier. Prabhupada famously said, if you really want to please me, distribute my books. And there were a number of times Srila Prabhupada said things of that sort. Distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Srila Prabhupada gave emphasis to this. And because Srila Prabhupada gave emphasis to this, if we do it as his followers, his connection with Krishna, with Lord Chaitanya, is so strong and just so completely strong. If we please Srila Prabhupada by distributing his books, by fulfilling the sacred order, we get his mercy. And that mercy is very amazing, very wonderful, very wonderful. We get Prabhupada's mercy, and then we get Lord Chaitanya's mercy and Lord Nityananda's mercy, because the desire of Srila Prabhupada, that is accepted by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And they make it their business to see that the desire of the great, great devotees like Srila Prabhupada are fulfilled. So Prabhupada once said, at least we were told in our very early days in Krishna consciousness, we were told that Srila Prabhupada said, whenever you go out on Sankirtan, Lord Chaitanya is there with you. In the movement of Lord Chaitanya, the temple is the street. Of course, the temple is the temple also. But Prabhupada did say that our temples, they're not places just for eating and sleeping and comfortable living for the residents, but they are bases from which our devotees, like troops, can go out for spreading Krishna consciousness. So in Lord Chaitanya's movement, the temple is the street. And when we're out there presenting Krishna consciousness to the people, particularly in the form of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, then we can have confidence. Lord Chaitanya is with me. Lord Nityananda is with me. They're watching me. And if I make my best effort according to my capacity, then there's no doubt I'll get their mercy, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. In this way, my life will be benefited so much. I'll be benefited so much, and I'll be doing the very best thing in terms of service to please Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, like that. So I've been coming here to Mauritius. I first came in 1983 with Parthasarathi Maharaj, Madhavi Prabhu, and maybe there were one or two others. We came on the invitation of Bhagavan Prabhu, who was GBC at the time. We participated in the installation of Shishi Radha Golokananda, and I met many of the devotees. Of course, Sri Ketan Prabhu, I already knew. He had visited South Africa, Arjuna Prabhu. And I met some of the local devotees. Nrsimha Tirtha Prabhu and I went out collecting shushu from the farmers. We are an old Sankirtan team. Nrsimha Tirtha Prabhu and I. I met Mukta Purush Prabhu and various other devotees, and of course mixed a little with the local people, and I saw that the field here for distributing Krishna consciousness is actually incredibly good. Indian people, pious Hindu people, of course India, there are many in India, but frankly, my dealings with just the local Mauritian people shows them to be far more open than the vast majority, even of pious Hindu people in India. So the field is just astonishing, actually. It's truly amazing. We are just welcomed with open arms. So what a field. The only thing is we need to get up and really start spreading Krishna consciousness very enthusiastically. Of course, many things are going on, and that is nice, but the scope for more, when less is going on, it means the scope for more is greater. So that's good. The scope for more, there's huge scope for more. And particularly if more and more devotees, if more and more devotees try to learn how to do book distribution very nicely, so that people feel pleased to get a book, the more that more devotees can learn this and just develop the courage, just let's get into it, let's get started, then we can see an explosion in book distribution here. A massive explosion. Already Mother Satyabhama and her party, they've been going on for years and years and years, and just constantly successful. So if more and more devotees get into it, fulfilling the sacred order of Srila Prabhupada, we're going to see wonderful things happening here in terms of increase of book distribution. And in this way we'll see wonderful things happening in terms of the increase and development of Srila Prabhupada's movement here in Mauritius. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Srila Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj ki.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I've been asked, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Are you tired? Fatigue? Tired and inspired. Put your hands in the air, everybody. Take a deep breath. And everyone say after me, very loud, après moi. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Louder. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Thank you, merci beaucoup. Well, so I've been asked to say a few words in terms of a closing perspective, particularly for Mauritius, but also for all of Africa. I found this event exciting, stimulating, and a number of very important ideas have emerged from it in my mind. One idea which has emerged, although actually it was already there for some time, but crystallized a little more clearly, is that I feel here in Mauritius we can and we really should institute the Back to Godhead subscription, or whatever you call it, program. His Holiness Jayad Vaita Maharaj just mentioned it, that how in South Africa, initially the program began as a was as a subscription program. People would buy subscriptions to get the magazine. But then we found quite quickly that people were willing and happy to give more than just you'd ask for a subscription. And so it quickly transitioned into mainly a program of asking people to just donate, and then they get the magazine. It's our sort of gift, you could say, to them. And it's a big program. It's a very big program. It's really extremely successful. And as far as I'm concerned, here in Mauritius, I really do feel it can also be extremely successful and extremely beneficial for the people. They get back to Godhead every 2 months, and the temples and projects get regular income, which basically just goes on more or less. So that's one idea which is crystallized in my mind more clearly. Otherwise, someone was saying, who was that? What about getting more brahmacharis? Sort of just walk down to the brahmachari shop, buy a few brahmacharis. Now we've got some brahmacharis. Okay, let them loose on the people. Now, of course, the program of brahmacharis and brahmacharinis, this is how ISKCON began really in the Western world. It was a brahmachari and brahmacharini movement to a large extent. And then that side of it kind of lost momentum, and a lot of the brahmacharis, or, the great majority, brahmacharis and brahmacharinis became householders. And the result of that has been that in many temples around the world, the temples are fairly empty in terms of temple resident devotees, meaning generally brahmacharis and brahmacharinis. And let's face it, we're facing the same situation here. We're basically facing the same situation here. However, here in Phoenix, Radha Golokananda Temple, we just recently had a transition, a change of temple president. Now we have two. We have co-presidents, Ajay Chaitanya Prabhu and His Grace Sundarlal Prabhu. And Sundarlal Prabhu's involvement, most particularly, is in the ashram and involving younger men and younger women, and I think older men and women can also become brahmacharis and brahmacharinis also. but building up the ashram, particularly to really develop a preaching force. So I think that this is another very bright point in the future of ISKCON here in Mauritius, and for book distribution. I think we're really going to see an increase in book distribution. Of course, we have Mother Satyabhama and her team. Mother Satyabhama is unstoppable. She is, actually, truly a very extraordinary devotee and very wonderful devotee who's been pushing book distribution and continues fixed, truly fixed. So she also, I think, will be facilitated more, and in this way the ladies will be facilitated more, and book distribution will increase in that way. I'm looking forward to it. And then, in terms of the congregation, as things stand, the vast majority of our devotee community here in Mauritius is home resident grihastas and their families. Now, in some parts of the world, like for example in some parts of Russia, they don't have a temple. There is no temple. What they do, they rent a hall every Sunday, everyone gathers, and in many of these yatras, we're talking about, say, 100, 200 devotees. We're all grihastas, every last one, and their families. And some of these yatras, they have no temple. There is no such thing as a brahmachari or brahmacharini in the entire community. Some of them are leading book distribution yatras in the world. Yeah. Like, you know, if you look at the results for last year, India, of course, is number one. They're way out ahead. Fantastic. Second is Russia. And there you're talking about the great, great, great majority of the devotees are householders. And with the normal pressures and responsibilities of householders. In other words, what I'm saying here is that I really hope that based on the inspiration of this wonderful conference, that our devotee community, in this case particularly the grihastas, will really start getting mobilized to get out on book distribution and start pushing Srila Prabhupada's movement. I do know some of you are doing like that to some degree, but how about really bringing it to another level? I believe, or I heard someone say, I think there's some form of weekend warrior program in Mauritius. Haridev Guru said, oh yeah, that's right. So let's get some weekend warriors together. Let's get an army of weekend warriors together. And we shouldn't think, or yourselves shouldn't think that, well, we're householders, and you know, we have to do this and that, and so many things, etc., etc. And you know, what can we do? Well, I tell you what you can do. You can do a lot. You can really do a lot. If you get inspired, and you get together with some other devotees who are inspired, or you inspire them, like this, the spirit is extremely contagious. And it can become like an epidemic. And so, as part of the closing perspective, I would say, and as the co-GBC here, I would really like to see, and you know, after this program, anyway, I would really like to see that our household community gets mobilized very nicely. It will benefit yourselves as householders, as devotees, and of course it will benefit the movement and the whole country. The impact will really, it'll be huge. You know, and if this gathering can't get us mobilized, I don't know what can, actually. So, but seriously, I would really like to see that, and I think it's an important part of the closing perspective from the Mauritian perspective. And for Africa in general, well, a new day has dawned and is dawning, continuing to dawn because of the inspiration of Jayadvaita Maharaj. I remember some years ago, it's a long story, but another ISKCON, another sannyasi was offered the opportunity, go and preach in Africa. And his response was something like, well, you know, Africa, I mean, seriously. You mean Africa, that place, the dark continent? So he didn't. But Jayad Maharaj, he was given this responsibility, and I saw when he took it, that he really took it to heart, that we're actually going to get Africa going here in book distribution. And it's beginning to happen. It's already begun, and it's going to really continue happening. So from the closing perspective on Africa, I really would like to express my great appreciation, and in fact I am the chairman of the GBC body still for the next 1 month and 1 day. It's actually 1 month and about, I don't know, 6 hours now. So on behalf of the GBC body and the leadership of the ISKCON movement, I would really like to thank Jayad Maharaj for taking So for taking it up with real enthusiasm, conviction, and you know, I was observing, if he doesn't mind me saying, how's he doing, and you know, how's it going? And I saw, you know, this person, he's really taken Srila Prabhupada into his heart and made his service to Srila Prabhupada his life and soul. And, well, such a person can transform anyone and anything he has contact with. And I think Africa, like I said, a new day has dawned and is continuing to dawn. On the basis of Jayad Maharaj's involvement, and I think, I'm sure we're going to see a great blossoming and blooming of success in Africa for the Krishna consciousness movement on the basis of book distribution, and that is the best basis for the development of the Krishna consciousness movement. So, again, I thank Maharaj, I thank His Grace Govardhan Prabhu, who's also, with Maharaj's inspiration, really taking it to heart and pushing things on and working out all the details. So like this, I would say, the future is bright. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but is BBT Africa the only BBT wing which has an annual conference, and or are there others? Not annual, okay. Anyway.
The only one that does an annual.
Okay, the only one that does it annually. So I think this is wonderful, it's very inspirational. I feel inspired and excited. And I'm praying to Srila Prabhupada that he will give his mercy and continue to give his mercy to this very, very good endeavor of developing book distribution throughout Africa. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.